this year, and he said he was mostly excited that the main figures in finance were coming to the table this year. In previous
to come and speak to the crypto
to come and speak
guys.
to crypto. Previously, it was a bit of a fringe thing. With crypto as well, you only really hear the negative things, unless you're really, really into it, obviously, and an investor. But if you watch the headlines, you only see things about Bitcoin plunging or going up. And we were talking yesterday about tutorial on crypto. Are you up on Bitcoin and things?
Well, I know a little bit about it, to be honest.
Okay.
I understand how a blockchain works, I think,
Okay.
but it's obviously something that is so affecting everybody. And I think it's really interesting what you say. I think your impression there of this sort of the main promenade, for everyone watching us, the way Davos works is there's sort of a main street that goes through the town of Davos. And the shops, the clothes shops, the cafes get taken over by big companies, by regional entities, by governments, etc. And they sort of present their wares. It's a big open opportunity for them to sort of sell, and they try and get you in with an offer of a coffee or a chat. Now, interestingly, in previous Davos, this is my first Davos, I will say, but my understanding is that a lot of the sort of bigger players would have houses there. Yeah. This year, there's a lot of Indian provinces. There's a lot of crypto. Yeah. There's a lot of cloud businesses that are up there, and a lot of the people I've spoken to, similarly to you, are like, this is now the thing here. So there's this big promenade, the street, and then there's a blockade where you have a badge. Badges are crucial in Davos. Which badge do you have? Do you have a white badge? You're a speaker. You can go anywhere. You're a participant. Yeah. We have, I'll show you.
I didn't think to bring mine.
Yeah, we have an orange press badge. This is pretty good. You can get into the main forum, the main centre. It can get you into the media centre, and it means that you can kind of get everywhere. And that essentially, and then there's green badges, which I think are representations, and there's a sort of brown vertical badge. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, there's lots. And Sasha, of course, has a white badge.
She's got a white badge.
So
that's why she's not.
She's the privileged one. She's access all areas, like us.
Exactly, and we'll talk a little bit more later maybe about the badge access. But so then when you get to that perimeter, as it's called, you have to have a particular badge. The orange ones do get you into the perimeter. There's a couple of hotels in there, but it's where the main panels and the conference centre and the media centre is. So my day was in there today. You were in there yesterday.
Warm, yeah.
Keep it warm. It's been raining and wet. And as we said, you were out on the street with the crypto guys. So tell me, I mean, you work for Euronews' digital vertical, basically. Yeah. Why did you choose to chase these kind of Swiss crypto guys? What did you find out about them? What sparks your interest?
Well, I have to say, I'm not an aficionado of crypto. Yes, I am the editor of Euronews Next, but for me, it's a learning experience, and I think that was what came across with Felix today as well. That crypto gets a lot of negative press, so you really need to educate yourself, and that's what he said. You really need to look at what blockchains are out there, what tokens are out there to invest in. We had headlines recently of the Terra Luna stablecoin crash, and people lost their savings overnight. So he was basically giving me advice not to put all your eggs in one basket. Be like normal investors are, and just be savvy about it. Don't think that crypto is going to solve everything. There was a lot of discussion about the future of crypto as well. So I was talking before about the fact that hedge fund people are attending these events in crypto houses along the promenade. These big figures in finance and world leaders as well are coming to the table. It's all about regulation. That was another thing that we discussed, because last year, El Salvador made Bitcoin an illegal tender, which made it an outlier, and there was loads more discussions, offshoots about which countries are deciding to go down that route and which aren't, and there's a clear divide between I don't want to say stable countries, but countries that feel like they don't have a choice. So El Salvador, for example, with the dollar, Bitcoin is a more attractive offer for them. Well, there's so many more things I could talk about crypto. So I'm going to tease it out. You can read the article on Euronews.com, and Jack, you can enjoy it there. You can learn a bit more about crypto. I'm not an expert though. I'll have to put that out there.
No, it's really interesting, and like you say, it's been a huge debating point. Also, the climate issues around Bitcoin are really important here. Now, we're going to start wrapping up our conversations here on Euronews TV. If you want to hear about the day I've had as well, I've been speaking...
You had a massive day. We didn't really get to talk about it. Sorry, I've hogged the whole cover.
No, that's absolutely fine. Our viewers can join us online, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter, on our online streams. Please join us over there. You can ask questions as well. We can pick up some questions. We'll have another 10-15 minutes over there as well. So please join us. And join us at the same time on Euronews TV tomorrow from Davos. Okay, so for everybody that is still streaming with us on Euronews platforms, on YouTube, on Twitter and on Facebook, we'll carry on our conversation now. As I say, we're
primed for comments, yeah.
Primed for comments and tips as well, if there's any Davos aficionados that are watching us.
So you had a massive day today.
Had a big day, yeah. One of the things that sort of is always the thing in Davos, obviously, was such a high concentration of world leaders, business people. Like all media organisations, we chased the big interview. And for Euronews, the EU Commission President who's attending, Ursula von der Leyen, she was my chase today.
Yeah, she wasn't easy.
I did chase.
Yeah.
So we had a really interesting interview. She spoke on a panel about mainly about Ukraine and about climate issues, and we did ask her a lot about that. So the focus of the interview, I suppose, was on the Russian oil embargo.
Russian oil, and the food crisis. No.
Food crisis, yeah. So we had Robert Habeck, the German Vice Chancellor, said earlier in the day that they thought that this oil embargo. So the EU is trying to put together, as part of its 6 rounds of sanctions, an oil embargo against Russia to try and cut off their finances. And they said that might happen in a couple of days. He said three days or so. And what happened was it's Hungary that is blocking it, essentially. They're really reliant on Russian oil. Anyway, so I asked the Commission President, Ursula von der Leyen. She said maybe a couple of weeks. But they do feel that they're getting there. So that was a really interesting interview. We're really pleased to get her. It was not easy.
Well, it was not easy. What goes into getting a world leader like that?
Well, for me, it's texting a friend. Okay. I'm lucky that I work in Brussels ordinarily.
So you're well connected.
Well, I didn't know one person in the right team. But it was really, really difficult. And I think this is a good example of how difficult Davos can be. There was lots of people trying to get her.
Of course.
The big American networks were getting her. And there was limited time. And she got cold outside.
Okay, well, I was out there, so I know, it's freezing today.
Exactly, so she got cold and had to go inside, but luckily I managed to get around the press people. It's really interesting. It's part of the game of getting these kind of interviews, is to sort of follow them, be persistent, and luckily she spoke to us. But also there was loads of other interesting people.
Who were your top spots?
Saw Alexander Vucic having a pic taken on the stairs. Saw the back of Christine Lagarde.
You saw the Klitschko's again?
Saw Vladimir Klitschko was in there. Christine Lagarde, the ECB president. I saw Alexander Vucic, the Serbian president, Pedro Sanchez has been speaking. The NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg swept through the conference centre with a huge entourage behind him after his speech. Kristalina Georgieva, the IMF president, was in there. It's really interesting as well, I have to say, for me. I do a lot of these kind of conferences and summits and stuff, but you never get this close to these people there.
We were talking yesterday about whether Davos was different to an EU summit. Is it how massive?
So in a summit, they just sort of get into a room and you sit in a press conference. Here, they are stood in the cafes. They are, having their coffees right next to you. It's quite cool, actually. Paul Ryan was here, the former Republican Speaker of the House during the Donald Trump years. being very sort of friendly and charismatic with lots of
Did he
people.
come and talk to you? No.
He didn't come and talk to me, but lots of people were going up and talking to him. Yeah. So let's tease tomorrow. What are we expecting tomorrow? What are you going to be working on?
TBC, but I think tomorrow I'm going to be looking at 3D printed houses.
Brilliant. What is that?
What is
From
that?
what you know now,
From what I know now, you'll find out more tomorrow. Again, teasing web content. Go look on the website tomorrow. It's basically a process of making sustainable housing for the future, future-proofing housing, using sustainable methods, so 3D printing, using 3D printed cement. This is based on what we've kind of reported in the past on Euronews Next, but yeah, there's lots more on the promenade that I want to go and see. The psychedelics, you were in the psychedelics.
I went and
I probably shouldn't mention that.
no, I went and meditated and spoke to my baby self.
But what does that mean?
So
I
what
still
happened?
don't understand.
I'm going to tell you the story actually. So I went to the medicinal psychedelics house, which everybody is sort of talking about as well.
I need to go tomorrow. I do.
It's about using sort of low-level microdosing to sort of cheer everyone up and make them more productive. But I went in and there was a meditation going on.
Okay.
I don't know if everybody had been given some medicinal psychedelics and whether I was just on the level. But yeah, so I got a bit into the meditation, but then they wanted everyone to start talking to each other, and it was an odd number, and I didn't have.
You didn't have a partner.
So I was like, okay, I'm chill enough.
Jack.
Yeah, you've got to go and check that out.
Yeah, I will do. I mean, you mentioned those kind of products. They are becoming more and more of a future of health story. Using cannabis oil and things like that to.
It's mainstream now as well.
It is. It's becoming more and more mainstream. So.
Yeah, you got to go and check it out. It's it's sort of downstairs though. It's quite dark.
I walked past it and I was like, Jack was in there. I'll probably have to go in there tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, I was mentioning the promenade before. There's so much along there. There's so much activity. Yeah. But I think tomorrow I'm going to have to go into the Zentrum Centre and keep warm. Depending on the weather and world leader spot as well.
One final thing we should talk about as well, because this is another thing. Before I'd ever come to Davos, I heard a lot about the parties, and this is but it's an interesting issue because it's
no, I think you're right.
It's I mean, tell me what your experience has been of the sort of discussions around that.
I think they're an integral part of the week, aren't they? Going to these parties is where probably some deals happen as well, like through discussions. But I was looking at a party tonight, and it was $1,000 entry fee. So some of them are very elite and exclusive. And
gonna try and blag your way in.
Well, yeah, of course I am. But we'll see how that goes.
It's really interesting. I mean, I think this is the colour of it as well, perhaps in a sense that I didn't understand before coming here. I thought it was just walk into a bar and you can go to a party. That's not the case.
No.
There are all these houses, and in the evenings they host sort of dinners, some of them. There's a very posh dinner in Arabian Night where all the leaders are going out. We have zero chance of getting in there, but there are lots of other interesting and cool parties going on in the nightcaps. As they're called, that start normally somewhere around 9:30, 10 p.m. And when you're interviewing people and meeting them, people are like, "Oh, which nightcap are you going to?" And you're like, "Oh, I don't know about that one." And they forward you a picture on WhatsApp, and you have to RSVP to the email address on that. I think that's probably quite interesting. And then some of them say yes if you're lucky, and you head to a nightcap. And again, this is where it comes to the badges. The orange badges are an acceptable party pass. The white badge you can pretty much, I think, get into most parties if you're a speaker.
Funny thing about the badge, today it reminded me of other kind of tech conferences I've been to. People navel gazing. So they're looking at your badge and clocking your name and whether you get mobbed anyway because you're famous. But, no one knows who I am. But,
far from.
There is a lot of kind of looking at badges, and I forgot that that goes on.
I am fully guilty of that though. I have to say there is such a high concentration of high-level politicians and business figures and stuff like that. People whose face you recognise, but also you might probably recognise them more immediately. But because there's literally a sea of people that are prominent and powerful, these badges, it's actually one of the things I like. The names are quite big. So luckily my eyesight isn't terrible. You can actually kind of spot people's names
Yeah.
and work out who they are,
Yeah.
which is important, I think, in a situation like this.
And when you're meeting so many people as well, it's hard to remember names and faces, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It really is. So I think there's a lot to talk about tomorrow as well. The focus, I think, is going to be more. Today was Ukraine and security based.
Yeah.
I think tomorrow is going to be a few more climate discussions from what I'm seeing on the agenda there.
Yeah.
And you said you're doing the Princeton House, which is relevant to that.
Yeah. I was also up at the Arctic base camp today.
What do they have to say?
So it's really interesting. So this is their fourth Davos. It's where Greta Thunberg stayed. They hosted her when she came in 2018, I think. So the scientists that camp up on, you can't see it now because it's literally a cloud outside, but on the peak overlooking Davos, and it's basically people bringing attention, bringing attention to the fact that the polar ice caps are melting. This is the big alarm that's going off, and it's not anywhere near the main conversation of climate change within environments like Davos, where the world leaders are. The Arctic's melting 3 times faster than, or it's being affected by climate change 3 times faster than anywhere else on the planet. And that plays into a whole heap of things like the Ukraine war as well. There's a lot of dots that can be connected up to this, and it was fascinating talking to them. And again, there's going to be an article out on that tomorrow. But yeah, climate it's kind of been sidelined this year, I think, for obvious reasons, but there is a lot of interesting conversations going on as well.
Definitely. It's definitely still there. I think we're running out of time here online. Thank you so much for everyone that's joined us. Before we go, plug your Instagram and your Twitter handles so that people can follow you if they want to find you.
Instagram is David M. Walsh, at David M. Walsh, and Twitter is at David_M_Walsh. It's not that easy.
Didn't get the one you wanted.
yeah. There's actually another journalist called David Walsh, and he's much more high profile.
Oh, well, you'll get there. And mine is Jack E. Parrock on Instagram and on Twitter. Follow us there if you've got any tips for Davos, if there's anything you want to draw to our attention. As we said, there's tons going on here. So there might be some stuff that we don't know about, so if you're interested. And if you're interested and you're not here in Davos, you're watching from somewhere else, you're interested in what's going on, you want to hear a little bit more about it, follow us and we'll do our best to get on to you and get back to you. Thank you so much for watching us here on Davos After Hours. Tomorrow we'll be back, Sasha will be leading us.
Return, yeah.
And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And see you tomorrow.
Have a wonderful evening.
Totally monopolised your time there. We could have heard more about it.